Hello everyone, and welcome back to our journey through Genesis. Today, we're diving into one of the most intense and discussed chapters in the entire book, Genesis 19. This chapter deals with some heavy themes, so let's approach it with open hearts and a desire to understand the deeper messages it holds for us. We pick up right where we left off. Two angels who had just visited Abraham now arrive at the city of Sodom in the evening. Lot, Abraham's nephew, is sitting at the city gate, a place of social and legal importance. When he sees the two visitors, he immediately recognizes their significance. He bows down with his face to the ground and insists they stay at his house, offering them hospitality and protection. This act of hospitality is a crucial detail. In ancient Near Eastern culture, protecting guests was a sacred duty, a sign of righteousness. Lot is trying to do the right thing in a city that has lost its way. The angels initially decline, saying they'll spend the night in the public square. But Lot is persistent. He urged them strongly. The text says, why? Because he knows the danger that lurks in the streets of Sodom after dark. He understands the profound corruption of his city and wants to shield these divine messengers from it. Finally, they agree and go to his home. Lot prepares a feast for them, baking unleavened bread, another sign of respect and urgent hospitality. It seems, for a moment, that everything will be all right. But before they can even lie down to rest, the night takes a terrifying turn. The men of the city, both young and old, from every part of Sodom, surround Lot's house. This wasn't just a small group of troublemakers. The text emphasizes it was the entire male population. They call out to Lot with a chilling demand, asking him to bring out his guests so they can commit a horrific act of violence against them. This moment reveals the depth of Sodom's depravity. It's not just about one particular sin, it's about a complete breakdown of morality, a society consumed by violence, inhospitality, and a total disregard for the vulnerable. The very concept of treating a stranger with dignity is alien to them. Their demand is a flagrant violation of the sacred laws of hospitality and basic human decency. In his desperation to protect his guests, Lot steps outside, shutting the door behind him to create a barrier. He pleads with the mob, calling them "my brothers," and begs them not to act so wickedly. Then, Lot makes a shocking and deeply troubling offer. He offers his two virgin daughters to the mob instead, saying, "Do to them as you please, but do nothing to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof." Now, let's pause here because this is incredibly difficult to read. From our modern perspective, Lot's offer is unthinkable and morally reprehensible. It highlights a patriarchal culture where women were often seen as property, and their well-being was secondary to a man's honor and his duty to protect male guests. It's a raw and unfiltered look at a flawed human being in an impossible situation. Lot is trying to uphold one sacred duty, protecting his guests, by sacrificing another, the safety of his own children. It's a tragic choice that reveals the moral chaos of the world he lived in. We are not meant to approve of Lot's offer, but to be shocked by it, to see how sin can twist a person's judgment. The mob, however, is not interested in Lot's daughters. Their rage turns on Lot himself. They mock him. "This fellow came here as an alien, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them." They surge forward to break down the door, intent on violence against both Lot and his guests. At this critical moment, the angels intervene. They pull Lot back inside the house and strike the men outside with blindness. The mob, now sightless, wearies themselves trying to find the door, their evil intentions thwarted by divine power. Inside the safety of the house, the angels reveal their true purpose. They tell Lot, "We are about to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it." They command Lot to gather his family, his sons-in-law, his sons, his daughters, anyone who belongs to him, and flee the city immediately. The judgment that Abraham had pleaded with God about is now imminent. Lot rushes to warn his sons-in-law, who were pledged to marry his daughters. He tells them, "Hurry and get out of this place because the Lord is about to destroy the city." But they think he's joking. They can't comprehend the reality of the coming judgment. Their reaction is a sobering reminder of how people can become so desensitized to their own corruption that they laugh in the face of warning and truth. They are so embedded in the culture of Sodom that they cannot imagine its end. As dawn breaks, the angels grow urgent. They tell Lot, "Hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished." But Lot hesitates. Why? Perhaps he's in shock, or maybe he's reluctant to leave behind his home and possessions. He has lived in Sodom for a long time and has become comfortable, despite its wickedness. His hesitation is a powerful picture of how easily we can become attached to worldly things, even when they are toxic to our spirit. Seeing his hesitation, the angels, in an act of incredible mercy, grasp the hands of Lot, his wife, and his 2 daughters, and lead them safely out of the city. The text explicitly says this was because the Lord was merciful to him. Even in his weakness and delay, God shows grace. Once outside, one of the angels gives a final, strict command. Flee for your lives. Don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away. But Lot, amazingly, starts to negotiate. He pleads with the angels, saying he can't make it to the mountains and fears he will die. He points to a small nearby town and asks for permission to flee there instead. "Look, here's a town near enough to run to, and it is small," he says. "Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared." In a final act of grace, the angel agrees, promising not to overthrow the town Lot has chosen. That town comes to be called Zoar, which means small. Then, as the sun rises, the Lord rains down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah. The destruction is absolute. The entire plain, with all its cities, inhabitants, and even the vegetation, is wiped out. It's a terrifying image of divine judgment against unrepentant and pervasive sin. But then we have one of the most tragic verses in the chapter. In direct disobedience to the angel's command, Lot's wife looked back and she became a pillar of salt. Why did she look back? Was it longingly for the life she was leaving behind? Was it curiosity? Or was it a lack of faith in the deliverance she was being given? Whatever the reason, her heart was still tied to Sodom. Her looking back was an act of rebellion, a turning away from the path of salvation toward the world of judgment. She stands as a permanent warning against the danger of a divided heart and the temptation to cling to a world that is passing away. The chapter concludes with 2 more difficult scenes. The first shows Abraham looking out from the place where he had stood before the Lord, seeing the smoke rising from the plain like smoke from a furnace. His worst fears for the cities have been realized, but the text adds a crucial note. God remembered Abraham, and he brought Lot out of the catastrophe. Lot was saved not because of his own righteousness, but because of God's covenant and mercy, prompted by Abraham's intercession. The final unsettling story involves Lot and his 2 daughters living in a cave in the mountains after leaving Zoar. Believing they are the last people on earth, they devise a plan to preserve their family line by getting their father drunk and conceiving children with him. This act, born of desperation and isolation, results in the births of Moab and Ben-Ami, who become the ancestors of the Moabites and Ammonites, 2 nations that would often be in conflict with Israel. This sad ending to Lot's story shows how the moral corruption of Sodom followed him and his family, even after they escaped the physical destruction. It's a bleak picture of the generational consequences of sin. Genesis 19 is a challenging chapter. It confronts us with the reality of sin, the severity of judgment, and the incredible, persistent mercy of God. It shows us flawed people making terrible choices, and a God who, despite it all, makes a way of escape. It calls us to examine our own lives. Are there any Sodoms we are hesitant to leave behind? Do we, like Lot's wife, look back longingly at things God has called us away from? And do we, like Abraham, intercede for a world that is lost? Thank you for joining me today to explore this powerful and complex chapter. It gives us a lot to think about. I'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. If you found this study helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more deep dives into Scripture. We'll see you next time as we continue our journey through Genesis. God bless.